Today, we're starting a journey by opening a box. Nice to see you today. I'm Ron Allen, one of the managing partners for The Storymakers. For more about us, you can head on over to thestorymakers.net. One of my areas of responsibility is content and technology. For content, I've actually been in this space since the 90s and I've pretty much covered every genre scope area between then and now. One of those areas was live production switching, previously using both the physical switching control boards and software control. We're going to be launching some live sessions in the near future, and we wanted a switcher where we could change the camera feeds going into the streaming software. With that, today, for part one, we'll be unboxing the BlackMagic Design ATEM Mini Pro. Right up front, this is not a sponsored post. We have a need for a switcher and we bought it on our own. We'll be covering the entire end-to-end live sessions, so make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can easily stay connected with the series. First off, what is this? This is essentially an interface between your cameras and a computer. If you're using a webcam, either built in or as an accessory, the computer, by its setup, will be able to see the video coming in from it and use it for streaming. However, in general, the quality is not going to be anywhere near as good as a regular camera, and once that video feed is going, in most cases, that's the only live feed that you can use. That's where a switcher comes in. It can take output from multiple cameras, consolidate them into one place, and allow you to select which one you want to use. And then this will output a single feed to the computer for your streaming software to use. Just ensure the switcher inputs match what your cameras can output. All of our cameras can do HDMI outbound as a clean feed that we can then plug into the HDMI inbound on this device. A clean feed simply means that the signal won't have any data overlays on it, like shutter angle, ISO, timecode, whatever you would normally see on the screen of the camera itself. So let's just get into this. So first off, obviously, there's the box. You have a little overlay of what the keys are, so if you're new to live switching, that might be worth your time to cut out and just keep as a template next to it. One of the things that when I get equipment I always do is I always try to look at how much trash versus how much gear is actually inside the box. Try and get this off right now. Come on. Okay, so trash pile over here. Let's call it trash / recycling pile for now. So, in the box. Nice little welcome card. Software installation. So it looks like it has this ATEM software control as well, which is actually a pretty cool program. That might be a future video. We'll see about that little logo sticker if you want to put it on something. So a little flyer for DaVinci Resolve. This is actually a really good video editing and color correction piece of software. And last I checked, it was actually free as long as you're editing 4K UHD and smaller resolutions. If you're doing full 4K, then I think you have to start paying for it. But well worth looking out, especially if you're on a budget, because it's free. So another box here. So over to the trash recycle pile. Let's see what we have here. Trash recycling. Power with a universal adapter so you can change it with whatever location you're in. The various plugs that go with Europe, US, Japan, South America. Some of those. Then we actually get to the unit itself. Leave that in the bag for now. Anything else in here? Not that I see. So let's go ahead and take it on out. So overall, the unit itself, it's actually a pretty good size. It's got a nice weight to it, and that plus the non-skid pads on the back. Whenever you put it on your desk, it's not going to be sliding around for you, so that's actually a very big plus. Especially once you start getting cables coming off the back of this thing, you don't want it like dragging across your desk. So overall, it's a pretty decent quality plastic. It's not like the really cheap plastic you'd find on like this really cheap import car. It's got a nice feel to it, it's got a nice luster to it, and The buttons themselves are pretty easy to press in. There's a little bit of play side to side on it, but I don't think that's going to be a factor at all. Looking to see, I'm looking at the size of the layouts and the buttons, and obviously, even though I just opened it, I can tell that like this would be camera 1, 2, 3, 4. The buttons are a good size, and each bank is basically labeled the same. So even in a dark room, I'm pretty sure I could operate this basically not even watching it. It's like camera 2, I know it'd be right here. So that's actually a good plus. It's a good layout of the buttons. And then look at the back really quick here. So you have basically your power input. You have your ATEM control, so it's an Ethernet cable going out to do the software control. So we might look at that later. But then you have 4 HDMI ports coming in. So yes, that's 4 cameras with an HDMI clean signal coming in that you could then select which one you want to use. You have an HDMI out to go to a computer, or you can also put a USB out. That's actually the one that we'll be using for our project today. Also has 2 audio feeds in, but we record the audio separately, so we're not going to worry about the audio plugs right now. So if you look at the button layout, it's actually fairly logical and straightforward. So you have your individual cameras that you want to select, 1, 2, 3, 4, corresponding obviously to the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. You have your controls for each camera right here, and then you have audio controls for input 1 and input 2. So they're grouped nicely together. Over here, you have a little more controls about like a picture-in-picture. Your transitions are right here, so you can do a cut or a crossfade. There's a key in here, which we will actually play with a keyer later, but we'll see about that. And then fade to black. It's actually pretty logical. All the functions that you really need at your fingertips right here. So overall, this actually feels like a fairly solid unit that we're probably going to get a lot of use out of. We have used BlackMagic design products before. Absolutely no complaints about them to date. So looking forward to using this. The only thing I would probably hit it on is a lot of packaging for not a lot of stuff. I get that you want to keep it safe while it's in transit. So the only thing I'm really curious about is how well the labeling on each of these individual buttons is going to last if you start doing 10 sessions, 100 sessions. Is it going to wear off? Some of them might, but as I said, the labeling on the buttons are the same across the different banks. So even if the label wears off on this one, you know what it says because it's on the adjacent banks. So curious about the longevity of labeling on the buttons, but overall, it feels like a pretty solid piece. Again, looking very forward to using this. Okay, so this is the BlackMagic Design ATEM Mini Pro, but as I said, this would also apply to the regular Mini. It's a similar product, they have the same size, feel, look. The only big difference is the bank of buttons up here, which will give you some more functionality. So that will be it for this video. In the next video, we're gonna power this up, get a few cameras input, and run that into the computer and go through the different functions and the buttons just to get used to it. So we'd like to hear from you. So if you have any questions, just drop us a comment or send us an email. The email is in the description. We'll also include a link to this in the description as well. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on our videos. Thanks, and we'll talk later. Come back for part 2.